All right, moving on to the number two prediction for 2025. This is kind of a bad one, but prepare for less traffic and fewer leads through organic search. So, again, this is all up in the air, right? We don't really know how all of this is going to shake out. Could it aid law firms? It could, for sure. But I'll give you a little bit of what we've seen and why I think this is going to have this type of impact in 2025. So one of the biggest things we tracked this year was the increase of AI overviews. And so if you go to any search now, particularly for like informational type queries where you're asking a question or comparison or want information, you're going to see those Google AI overviews where it's actually trying to craft a response in real time and show that above all of the other search results. And so when they rolled this out, it was like the worst month of the year for a lot of our clients because they were occupying those first positions or second positions in the search rankings that we've been able to get them in those positions. And suddenly Google's now on top, right? And what I believe effect this had was people were no longer going to click through to our client websites and at least giving them the opportunity to try and convert that person as a lead. Instead, they were effectively ripping those answers from our clients, putting them in the AI overview. And so a smaller percentage of people were no longer actually clicking through and going to there. And so we saw, modest, not like, huge lead drops for our clients, but on those pages that, had traditionally done 5-10 leads every month or two, you start to add those up across the board and it can be a really powerful source of leads for your business. And what this did was either kind of like cut that in half or in some cases basically remove all of it, because my sentiment is that people were just no longer going to your website. And so you don't even have the opportunity to like show that you're an authority and give them some additional information around their issue and that you're a credible person to help them deal with it. We basically prioritize those in a second tier, those type of keywords and pages, as opposed to the first tier of pages that we're going after, where it's very specific search terms like lawyer, like personal injury lawyer, Cincinnati, where somebody's actively looking for a lawyer. These, in a lot of cases, are people doing research, figuring things out, learning about it. Those typically make for not as good quality leads because they're generally not actively looking for a lawyer, but they still produce leads. And so we are looking at ways to replace this and figure it out. And we've already deployed some strategies for this, and we're happy to share those. If you want to hop on a call with us, and we'll give those out free, but we're not really going to go into detail here. So we've seen that this all happened, and the good news is that it was somewhat mitigated by the fact that these AI overviews now have citations. So they're effectively showing which websites they have, stolen or the content from, which could include yours. And so this reminds me a lot of when they had these featured snippets added to the search results a few years ago. And it was a similar thing where, Google basically was like trying to answer the question before a user actually got to the search result, which is, in my opinion, always a net negative for law firms. But in this case, we're starting to see some of that traffic get clawed back. We are seeing more of our clients in those featured areas, those citation areas, reference areas for the AI overviews. And so don't stop optimizing for these. Think about it like a featured snippet and continue working with your SEO provider if you're doing it yourself to figure out how to get into those. And just a couple of nuggets to focus on. Think about clear, concise answers. That's what Google's really looking for. Don't load it up with a bunch of fluff. Really try to get it and answer the user query as quickly as possible, because ultimately Google's primary goal is always to solve user questions quickly and keep them happy. So you can still play a part in that. It just may change and you may be getting a little bit less of that traffic. But again, we're already deploying methods and alternatives to try and offset those losses. And we were able to do that in the fourth quarter of 2024 with some creative strategies that have gotten clients who had lots and lots of traffic from more of those informational results. They're getting it back. So that's great news, and we may cover that in a future podcast.